we have on this poem, we are going to do a beginner's practice of Vipassana. Some of you are quite experienced in this, so I'll keep the introductions at a minimum so that the beginners also can keep up with us. And I hope it will be a refresher for those who are quite familiar with this content. For us to start, I thought it's best to remind ourselves of why we are doing this. Because today it's a Sunday, yes, it's a Poya holiday, so usually Poya day for many of us is not for religious activities, it's a good break from our busy schedule. That is how Poya is usually for many Buddhists. So for you to decide to invest time in practicing what the Buddha said, I believe makes you a true Buddhist. And this is where we say the difference between the boys and the men, the born Buddhist and the practicing Buddhist. Most of us were born Buddhist, and I suppose only if you are into the Dana, Sila, Bhavana, all three, you can be considered practicing Buddhist. And as a country, we are more prone to the rituals and less to the practice. A question for all of us to ask every day is, am I even 1% or 0.1% a better person than yesterday? What does that mean? Do I feel I have developed even a 0.1% of patience, compassion, forgiveness, acceptance? Those are the cornerstones for enlightenment. Accepting the world, the humans, and all other beings for who they are, exactly the way they are. Being patient when the world and those beings are not behaving the way you would intend them to. Forgiving when their behavior is really getting out of the, crossing the lines of the expectation and irritating. Compassion, when you see that those behaviors are actually causing them and others harm. And forgiveness, because they probably don't understand what they are doing. These are very important elements for the practice for enlightenment. And these are also what the obstacles for us as individuals in this path. And you have plenty of opportunity to practice in your daily life. Because the people you love the most are probably those who irritate you the most as well. So practicing patience, compassion, forgiveness, generosity, acceptance starts at home. And as you progress in the path, doing this to yourself is even more important. As you progress in the path, you will start to realize and notice how non-perfect you are as a person, despite the effort you put in this path to enlightenment. You are your biggest friend and biggest enemy. Biggest enemy and biggest friend is myself. And therefore, the learning and the growth is also in you. Simply noticing who you are, what are your eccentricities, what are your, let's say, strengths, good qualities, so to speak. What are those things that are buried under lots of layers, some deep, dark, bad things which we don't let surface, but we know they're there. Knowing this, understanding this, accepting this is what it means to be a human being. To be a perfect human being, a supreme human being, is to accept and to let go. Letting go happens naturally. Once you accept and you are totally comfortable with who you are, no matter who you are. The more you dig deep into yourself, you will find things that makes you feel embarrassed, ashamed. You wouldn't want anyone else to know, but you know, and that is what is important. That is what will give you the comfort and the strength to not judge others, to be compassionate towards others, forgive others, to be generous in your love, your kindness, your friendship to others. Because you know who you are. I'll take a moment to reflect on what the Buddha found out about himself and all other human beings that led to his enlightenment, the freedom, the waking up. He was closely examining what we call the Panchaskandha, the five aggregates, observing what is really going on here. Because how we live life, how he understood and experienced was life is happening in this moment, right now. And we are experiencing this life through our sense doors. The five sense doors are very obvious and clear to us. Light falls on our eyes. The light touching the eye, the retina, stimulates something that goes directly through the optical nerve to the brain. And then the brain knows that there is seeing. That is all that the brain knows. There is seeing. So that is in the five aggregates, the rupa. The brain knows that something is seen, being seen right now. And then the brain examines, what do I know about what I know? Initially, there is nothing. It's just light. Therefore, if you think of Rupa, Vedana, Sankhara, Sankhara, Vijnana, and Kala, the Vedana, the feelings, is neutral. Because originally, when light touches the retina and stimulates an electronic movement of message going to the brain cognizes acknowledges that there is vision, something can be seen. And in that something, there is nothing. It's neutral. There is no feeling. But then human beings and all other beings, we have memory. Then the brain further investigates. And in our memory, we have filing cabinets. So everything we have ever experienced in the world, or rather everything that made some impact to us. Everything may not be registered in the files, but whatever made an impact to us, a pleasurable impact or a painful impact, things that we liked and things that we disliked are stored in the filing cabinet very precisely. So the brain, which is a supercomputer, then pulls out the file relevant to this visual stimulus and goes through the file in detail. And in the file it says, I am seeing my good friend Anuj. The file says, I like this person, I respect this person. The person is a friend and a mentor and a teacher, a leader I look up to. Now, as the file is being referenced, feelings, sensations start flowing from the top of the head to the tip of the toe. Lots of pleasant sensations. As now the brain is recognizing what is cognized before. So when the visual stimulus came first, light fell on the retina. There was only acknowledgement that something can be seen. And the feeling was neutral. As the brain goes through the memory file, the relevant file, and all this flood of memories come back, with that comes pleasant feelings. Where the memory file is what we call sun, the label, the file, that is your sun. Then comes the sankhara, based on the feelings, based on the data, information in the file that is coming purely from memory and nothing else. Then comes the sankhara. In the sankhara, we start forming thoughts, speech, and action through the mind, words, and bodily behavior. So, the visual stimulus was because somebody came into your visual horizon, and the thought is, I must speak to her. And then words form, words of hi, hello, how are you, Anuja, how are you doing? Bodily action will be to move towards the person, wave the hand, maybe embrace, and so on. That is the formation. This is how it works. That is the sankhara. Then what happens? The person came for a little while, spoke, and then the person left. Now the person is not in your visual sphere anymore. The person is not seeing, light is no longer falling on the eye, there is no longer any stimulus in the eye. However, you continue to think about the person. Oh, such a good friend, such a great mentor. I could speak only for a few minutes. I would like to speak more. I would like to hang out a bit more. Maybe I should block some time, go and visit. Now what is happening? The stimulus is not there anymore. There is no visual stimulus. This is upadana. We like it so much. Even after the course of all of this has ceased to be, the light is so strong. You continue to hold on to it. That is upadana. This is how life happens. And the opposite, if it is a person that is of distaste to you, the same thing happens. Initially, as the light stimulates the retina and electromagnetic charges go from the optical nerve to your brain, there is only acknowledgement that something is seen. Who is acknowledging this? This is Vijnana, your consciousness. Consciousness can only report. The consciousness reports something can be seen. That's all that the consciousness can do. You are conscious. Something can be seen. And the brain pulls out the file, does the analysis, and the pleasant sensations flooded the body in the case of aversion. If it is a person you don't really like, unpleasant sensations will flood your body, and the Vijnana will report. The feeling is unpleasant right now. That is what the Vijnana is. The feeling is unpleasant. Where is this coming from? It's coming from your sanya, your perception. The perception that somebody is good and somebody else is bad. It's a personal judgment. How true is this? It's your truth, your story of the world. Is it the real truth, the ultimate truth? There is no such thing. It's your truth, your perception, based on how you grew up, your value system, who you like and who you don't like. It's far from the truth. So the perception changes the neutral feeling into pleasant feelings or unpleasant feelings, leading to formations. You start thinking what you are going to do. Usually, because it's a feeling-led formation, there's hardly any thinking, it's just reacting. When pleasant sensations flood your body, you react by wanting for it to continue. When unpleasant sensations flood your body because you saw somebody that you don't like, unpleasant sensations flood your body, you react by wanting to get rid of it. Either ways, there is wanting to keep it, wanting it to continue, wanting to get rid of it, wanting it to go away. Either way, there is want. Wanting is what the Buddha called tanha, desire. Desire for things you like, to stay, to continue. Desire for things you don't like, to go away, to distant. Either ways, it's a desire. So these formations, if the whole process was very intense, it leads to upadana. If you saw a person you don't like, the formation might be to hide, to avoid eye contact, to wait till the person goes so you don't have to talk to the person or acknowledge the person. And after the person goes, no longer in your eye vicinity, eye sphere, eye horizon, still continue to think, oh, this person did this and this, such and such a thing, bad person, how dare he did that, how dare she said that. Long after the person has left, long after the visual stimulus is over, that is upadana. The intensity is so much. Continue to hold on to it. So the Buddha saw all of this. He also saw that we are all having a mind in its original state. This mind is pure. It's peaceful. It is still. This is like whenever Ajahn Chah gives a good example of a simile of a leaf. When you look at a tree and when you observe one leaf, you will notice that when there is a breeze, even a slight, the wind, the leaf shakes to and fro. When the breeze becomes a wind, it shakes faster and longer. When the wind gradually settles into a breeze and the breeze settles into almost no breeze, the leaf stops. There is a deep, calm stillness. And what Ajahn Chah said was, the nature of the leaf is to be still. There's a deep calmness in the nature of the leaf. Why does it flutter? Why does it shake? It's because of the external breeze, the external wind. The human mind is also like that. The nature of the human mind is to be still, to be peaceful. The nirvana that we are looking for, the mind is already inherited. It's an inheritance. The mind knows this peace. The mind knows this nirvana. Just like the leaf, the nature of the leaf is to be still. The external winds is what causes us to move. And our mind, because it is untrained, because we are not, because we are deceived, because we are not clear on what is really happening. We have let the winds come through our sense doors and move, fluctuate, shatter, take away the natural peace of the mind. This is what the Buddha discovered. He discovered that you can skill yourself, you can learn, you can train to not get impacted by the winds coming through the six sense doors, so that your mind, which has naturally inherited a peaceful bliss, can remain in its natural state. We are allowing ourselves to suffer. We have the solution already with us. The nirvana we are looking for is with us, has always been with us. This is what the Buddha discovered. And for 45 years, he taught people and any other being who was interested in how to do this. And he said, there are a lot of things that will inspire you, that will get you interested in this. But once you are interested, there's only one way to do this. That is the Satara Satipatthana. Simply developing an awareness to a fine level, a refined level, that helps you to observe when the wings of the senses are entering. And those wings, as they enter, they will also leave. It's like clouds floating in the sky. They come and go. We have mistaken this simple process and complicate it, creating a suffering. How does this happen? Every stimulus to your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, originally it's neutral. This is why the Buddha said, what you see is only light, what you hear is only sound. What you taste in your tongue is one of the 6 tastes available for humans in this world, nothing else. That is why you would notice as you grow older, when we were young, there were so many sensual pleasures. But after a point, we have seen it all, done it all. Everything tastes like chicken after a point. There's really nothing new to experience. Of course, we get this realization, for some middle age, for some in the old age. Then Siddhartha got this realization and he left the lay life. He was bombarded with sensual pleasures and indulgence from a very young age. So very quickly he realized that you can see it all, do it all, there's really nothing else. And then you start questioning then, what is all of this? So you realize that it's all about a misunderstanding. These experiences of the 5 aggregates, the panchaskandha, an enlightened being sees it as a panchaskandha. Layman like us, we experience it as pancha upadanaskandha. There's grasping at every stimulus. Every stimulus ends up being an activity of grasping, either for the sheer delight or for the sheer aversion of it. The intensity will vary from a 1% to 100%, but this is what is happening. And rarely we will find stimulus that we are not bothered about, and we just ignore it. That ignoring of it, it's not equanimity. The neutral part of it is not equanimity. Equanimity is to understand that there is intense liking or intense disliking, but I choose to accept. I choose to accept. That is equanimity, not reacting and grasping with desire, reacting and grasping with aversion, but simply to accept that this is the nature of what I can see, the nature of what I can hear, the nature of what I can taste, the nature of what I can feel. Why is it that we can't accept? It's because we want to control. Why do we want to control? We want to control the environment, the life, to be for my liking. If you are trying to listen intently, and there is some noise disturbing you, recognize that you want to control it. Instead, can you try to let it be? Now, this is where conflict comes in. What we call Vichikiccha is actually conflict. Conflict of your rational mind saying, if I let it go, if I accept, people will walk all over. This is the conflict. The emotional mind and the rational mind is always at conflict. The emotional mind wants to control everything. The rational mind will tell you that accepting will lead to letting go. Letting go will lead to peace. The emotional mind, which wants to control, will tell you, but if I do that, this is the little voice that speaks to you. If I do that, people will walk all over. So do you see, friends, this is why you are your biggest enemy. You are the reason you haven't got enlightened. I am the reason that I haven't got enlightened. Because the need to control is so high. It's preventing me from accepting. And when I don't accept, there is no room to let go. Letting go has to happen naturally. When letting go happens naturally, peace comes naturally. But we have trained ourselves all our life not to accept, but to fight, to control, to have things my way. So who is the real enemy? The enemy is your perception of me, myself, I. Where is this coming from? It's coming from the simple process of Panchaskandha. Let us go back to this. Everything you ever need to know about the Dhamma and enlightenment is in this simple process. This is all you need to study. Everything that the Buddha preached, the Four Noble Truths, the Paticcasamuppada, everything is about this Panchaskandha. Nothing else. So, what we found was this me, my, I, myself. We create this through this Panchaskandha process, through our ignorance. This process is happening very fast, so much so. The Buddha gave a unit to explain the speed. Kalapa, I believe, is what he said. I might be mistaken. Anyway, it references to taking a second and splitting it, let's say, to 100,000 units or a million units. It's that small. The normal human brain cannot comprehend it. That is why enlightenment is not a theoretical exercise. Because the brain, what we all comprehend in our studies, the various degrees, doctorates we have gained, this cannot be comprehended in that way. This has to be experienced. And therefore, you don't really need a huge intellect for this. Because experiencing something is possible for a person with an average intelligence or even lesser. And this is why children got enlightened. This is why uneducated people got enlightened. Serial killers got enlightened. There was no boundary to who could get enlightened. So what is happening? This whole Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara process is happening at a very fast speed. By the time our brain cognizes, acknowledges that something is seen, that process has happened hundreds of thousands of times. That is the only way there is sufficient quantity for us to start realizing that something is happening. And this is why normally the way we live, we don't notice so many things because it's too fast to notice. It's happening too fast to notice. You start noticing things only when you slow down and you stop. So the simple simile that Venerable Ajahn Rajamanshu shares is how he gets driven up to his monastery in Australia, Western Australia. It's up a small hillock. He said one day on a nice summer day, he thought, let me take a walk. And he started to walk. He got the person driving to let him off at the foot of the path. And he said, I'll walk up to the monastery. And he said, for the first time, as he walked, he noticed things he had never seen before, even though he drew past that same path a million times before. He noticed that in the grass that was growing on the two sides of the path, there was a tiny flower. And that flower had different colors. He noticed the colors because he actually stopped to see the colors. He wouldn't have seen the colors if he continued to walk. So as he drives past, he didn't notice. As he walked past, he noticed there was grass. As he walked slowly, he noticed there was a small flower in the grass. As he stopped to examine the flower, he noticed in the tiny petals there were distinctive colors. This is how we have to start our practice. All our life, we have been driving past. Once in a way, we come for a meditation. That is like choosing to walk up the path. And then stopping to see the little grass is possible only if you have a daily practice. You need a daily practice. There is no other way. This is why Dr. Manori was insisting that how do we enable our friends to create a daily practice. Without a daily practice, you cannot see the color in the little flower that grows in the grass. So this is why we are the only reason why we are not alive. It seems such a pity because I have known all of you for some time, myself included. I dare say you're far more intelligent than a little child, than the municipal worker back in the time, Sunita. Certainly, way beyond. So if we are still suffering, if we still fear things, if we have fear, if we have anxiety, if we have sorrow, then friends know this. It's because either you haven't got down from the car to take a walk, or you haven't stopped to observe the color. And once you do, everything else will just happen. It is waiting to happen. I think Dr. Manori will put enough interesting people for daily practice. Because this daily practice will naturally evolve and give you that result. Those are the qualities of the Dhamma, as said in Gata, Swaka, Bhagavata. This Dhamma can be realized only by oneself. You have to get off the car, start walking up the car, and when you see something interesting that you have never seen before, you have to stop and examine it until you understand it in full. Therefore, the path can be traveled only by you, only with your interest and the understanding, and the end result is all yours. Guaranteed. That's what the Buddha said. Results are guaranteed. And he said, he one day took a bit of sand to his fingers and let the sand, a bit of dirt actually, to his fingers and threw the dirt away and showed the monks. There was a little bit of dirt trapped between his fingernails. He said, monks, what is more, the dirt on this planet or the dirt trapped under my finger? And the monks, of course, said, the dirt on the planet is mine. And the Buddha said, so is, friends, humans born with the ability to get enlightened is like the dirt on the planet. Humans who are interested, who want to get enlightened, and who take this path are like the dirt trapped under my fingers. And we see these friends even today, all the Buddhists. I know how many that you try to coax to come and be a part of this, to learn, and if not to learn, to practice. This path requires Kalyana metta. This path requires group meditation. So you come in for these group sessions, physically or on Zoom. It's a great meritorious thing because your presence, simply your presence, is encouraging and inspiring others. So even if you don't want to meditate, just log in, just come in here, because that merit is yours. You have inspired others by being here, your presence. And that is the first step, being present. Second step is being present at least on a Poya day, which is once a month. Taking it a bit further is being present once a week. We do this same program every Sunday from 8:30 to 12:30, the same way. Of course, it's in the local language, but I don't see anyone who will have a problem with that. So then from once a month practice to every Sunday practice, that is progress. And then from once a week practice, you are just one step away from daily practice. And the most venerable Homagam Kondan, one of the greatest meditation teachers that all of us knew and are very fond of, he used to tell me, I was a student, 15 years old. He used to say, you cannot tell me that you don't have 5 minutes a day for this. Anybody has 5. And that is all it takes. 5 minutes a day. He said, even if you sit and do nothing, that's still fine. But still creating a practice, a daily practice. 5 minutes, sit and do nothing. That was his instruction. Sit and do nothing every day for 5 minutes. And gradually, when you are comfortable with sitting and doing nothing, then just observe the breath. 5 minutes every day. And gradually, when you are comfortable in observing the breath, then start observing what else is going on. How does your body feel? What is going on in your mind? Do you notice the thoughts? Do you notice what you feel? What we didn't realize is, he was telling us a very simple way to do it. No effort at all. And then he said, as you are comfortable with 5 minutes, can you dare to push it to 10 minutes? And in this manner, I remember back then, most of us, the students of this class back then, we managed to develop a regular practice of 20 minutes. And some of us managed to develop a regular practice of 40 minutes. But I do recall that even 5 minutes of a daily practice had its benefits. So that is for inspiration. And coming back to me, myself, what the Buddha realized was the speed at which this Panchaskandha, this process, Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara, is happening very fast. One moment to another moment, it's too fast to capture. And humans are left with memories of the past moment. Based on the memories, humans start projecting their imagination into the future. And over a period of time, they just get caught up in living the memories and projecting to the future. And the stimulus, they don't realize, the stimulus to do that always came from the present moment. The present moment brings some stimulus which reminds you of a similar experience in the past, and then you project it to the future and you want that experience to continue, or you project it to the future and you want that experience to discontinue. And the humans in the present moment use the present moment as a coordination office between the past and the future. Unknowingly, we are simply coordinating between past memories and future imagination, not realizing that the trigger was in the present moment. The past memories brings past feelings, whereas the present moment, the stimulus had no feelings, it was neutral. So in the present moment, with the present stimulus, we are evoking past memories and past feelings. And the Buddha referred to this as eating leftovers. Pilunukana is how one amazing monk explains. Me what the Dhamma once a day. You are eating leftovers from yesterday, from last week. Because right now there's nothing. Dutude dutuwa kamana, asunade asuna. Danunade danna. What you see is only seeing, it's light. What you hear is only hearing, it's sound. What you feel is only feeling, a touch feeling, a fragrant feeling, a taste feeling, nothing else. But because you have used this present moment, the stimulus, as a coordination center between the past and the future, you're projecting yourself into the past and into the future, and you are creating an entity, a being, who is living in the past and in the future. And in this manner, you are projecting yourself into the past lives and the future lives. And you are creating above it a sunset right now. All of us, we believe that the little baby that was born, that was you, is you. All of us believe that the little child, the student who was at school, the young man or young woman who got married, the middle-aged person who had children, we believe all of that is you. You have projected a permanent entity. You have created a permanent entity by linking the past and your future and occupying time. We are occupying time. We haven't realized this. Whereas in reality, that time is so small, so minuscule, we can't even, we can't even understand it. It's too small. But we are projecting ourselves into the past and into the future through memories and through imagination, and we are occupying time. See, whether you are 20 years old, whether you are 50 years old, whether you are 80 years old, you are occupying a time quantum of about 1900 years. We are just occupying time. It's false. It's no such thing. It's not possible. It's not real. This is the dream that the Buddha said you have to wake up. The Buddha, later on, he was referred to as Samma Sambuddha, and the other enlightened beings were referred to as Arahants. But originally, the Buddha called any being who woke up to this reality as a Buddha, the awakened. Because the rest of us are in a dream, dreaming that there is a me, there is myself, there is an I, a permanent entity occupying time. From the moment I was born, someday in the future when I'm done, I'm occupying time. And I'm occupying space as well. There's a height, there's a width, and there's a depth of my body. And if that is not enough, then there's a height and a width and a depth of my house that I get attached to. As if the body is not big enough, you attach that body into a house and call it my house. You really need a space of the size of your height, width, and depth. So why do you need a house with 4 rooms or 24 rooms? It's all a story you have created through a false sense of a permanent entity. And when people say, Buddha that mentioned 24 rooms, the starting point is to ask yourself, please don't ask your friend, ask yourself, why does a person need 24 rooms when, number one, the person does not exist in the first place? Why do we fear death? We fear death because we believe we exist. The Buddha said enlightened beings have reached a deathless state. It's a deathless state because once you understand you don't exist, there's no one to die. It's not death. You can only die if you exist. If you don't exist, who is there to die? That is why nirvana is a state of deathlessness. But we fear it. Many people say, you don't. It's not true. You have to be enlightened to not fear it. We all fear it. We fear sickness. We fear old age. And we fear sickness, old age, and death of the others that are around us. Because we haven't understood that we don't exist and others don't exist either. We exist in a moment, and that moment is too small for us to fathom. So this is what the Buddha discovered. And he said, when you understand this, you live with the Panchaskandha. When you don't understand this, you live with the Pancha Upadana skandha. In that Upadana, in that grasping, you have created me, myself, I, a permanent entity. And that permanent entity then has things that person likes and dislikes. And those likes and dislikes are nicely stored away in your memory terminals. And those likes and dislikes then serve for new formations, sankhara, and for new grasping, upada. And we continue to create the next birth right now. This is what we do. Bhavya Sakaski. Whenever the formations are getting formed, they are creating that next life. So what is the solution? The solution is to first start noticing change. It all starts by noticing change. Anitya. Noticing change is the starting point. When you start noticing change, when you start understanding change, slowly it becomes apparent that there is no control. What is there to control? When everything is changing. And when you realize that there is nothing to control, then you realize there is no being here. Because if there is a being, there is control. The need to control. So whenever you feel that the sound is not right, somebody is speaking and disturbing your peace, that what you are seeing is not right, something is a mess, not done properly, that is when you need to understand. This is the problem. The permanent entity wants to control things. May I suggest, friends, that all your life, you have lived a life of wanting to control, and you know that that gives you no peace. It only causes you agitation, anxiety, worry, and restlessness. So why not try what the Buddha described? Just accept things. Let people walk over you. It's okay. Otherwise, when will you start? Let people walk over you. Let people have their way. Why does it matter? Enlightenment is more important. If you don't, you want people not to have their way, not to walk over you, you're pushing enlightenment away. Let people walk over you. Let people have their way. Start accepting. Fine, dear husband, have your way. Dear wife, go for it. Anyway, wives have their way, you must have on this time. Dear children, go for it. Because I choose to accept you for who you are, for what you do. This is the path, my friends. This is the path. This is the practice. Try to be ideal. If you want to get enlightened, this is the only way. Accept it. Let the politicians be. Let the municipal council be. Let the monks of the temples be. Let the people who are supposed to clean the hall be. Let the domestics be. Let the husbands be. Let the wives be. Let the children be. Let everything be. And guess what? One day you wake up and you notice you are enlightened. And you won't care anyway afterwards. So let's start this. This is what the Buddha told. All right. So I run you through a few practices with short 1 minute, 2 minute practices. And then we will practice for 1 hour quietly. In that 1 hour, you can do whatever you want. You can sit and do nothing. You can do any meditation you like. You can practice some of these techniques. If you are bored and if you are falling asleep, you can do Satman. But if you'd like to try some Vipassana techniques, we are running through some 1 minute practices, a couple of different techniques. So you can practice those too if you wish. So let us start. This practice needs love and kindness and compassion for yourself, because in this path, if there's one person that you will repeatedly get irritated with, repeatedly feel let down, repeatedly get dismayed with, that is you. So you need to start with a lot of love and kindness and compassion for yourself. So let us start with some loving kindness, and we will continue with a few more practices of Vipassana.